Welcome everybody to episode 3 of the Comeback Corner. Thanks for checking out episode 1 and episode 2. If you haven't, go back, check it out, smash that like button, share with your friends, and let's get it out there. So anyways, tonight is episode 3. We have Ron Hutter here, who's been an instrumental part of my life this past year. So I brought him on as a first guest, featured guest, probably going to be on here quite a few times throughout the year of the show, the next 10, 20 years I do this, whatever. I want to focus a little bit tonight on the ups, the downs of what my addiction has actually meant to Ron here in his personal life.
Absolutely, yep.
And what it's done in a negative, good and bad in his life, and what I would like to think is a positive way now shaped up to the whole dealership.
Absolutely.
So I'll go a little bit into the relationship of Ron and I. So I started in the car business in when? It was November 23rd, 2014. Ron was on.
14, yeah.
14, yep. Ron was the general manager. Two different dudes from two different backgrounds with similar stories that we didn't even know that you would have thought we would align down the road. Ended up becoming one of my closest friends, mentor, if you will, the guy that helped bring me up through the sales training. Was my manager, taught me pretty much everything I know at this point, besides what I've learned on my own from, Grant Cardone and stuff like that. But he's been the solid backbone and one of the main force driving reasons that I'm sober sitting here making this video. So let's just jump right into it, Ron. How you doing tonight?
Great, absolutely wonderful. So, Mark, it's funny. I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you talk, and I'm saying to myself, how do I convey how I felt that the whole time I ever met you? So I'm sitting here and I'm actually thinking the first time I ever met you, and looking back on it, it was kind of a funny situation because I'm sitting there at my desk, sales tower, whatever you want to call it, and I'm sitting there and I got this guy, slick back hair, no beard at the time, clean cut, coming up to me out of the blue. I had not even known you were hired because I was on vacation when this young man was hired. Come back to this guy being here, and I'm like, who is this guy coming to me looking for information? And, caught me off guard a little bit. And, one of the best experiences I ever had was the confidence you had that day. You had a confidence about you the day you came in, day one. And I think a lot of it comes from the experience you had in the past, which came from all your car purchases you did on the other side of the desk. And so when you came in here, you knew, hey, I know what a sales manager is. I know who this guy is. He's the guy I got to go to for the numbers. And so you use that to your advantage from the get-go. And I'll be honest, I come into this guy that I don't know, and I'm a little intimidated. You don't know who this guy is.
Why
you don't
are you intimidated?
Yeah, well, you're somewhat intimidating because of your size and, just not knowing who you are. And, who's going to hire somebody out of the blue other than Scott Kunis without ever talking to another manager, right? So, that's one of the privileges of having your name on the front of the building, I guess. But,
right.
The cool part is that you had a confidence about you, and that aura really took off, and quite honestly, the confidence that you held that day, you've held to this day, and it's a really cool thing. So I'm really proud of you for that.
Well, thank you. Let's talk. Let's kind of work it in. I like to work everything in 90 days sections.
90 days.
That's kind of how I like to chalk up the way that I do things. So
not to hit on Grant Cardone, but Joe Verdi did say 90-day average for everything in the car business.
You would say that because you're old school.
I'm old school, but I am.
Old school. Anyway, so let's talk about the first 90 days. We had December, January, February. I really didn't know much in the business. I was sober-ish, I think. Because I was still using juice.
Well, you showed up at work at least.
I showed up. It
was a positive.
We'll get to the next portion, but I was still showing up. I was learning the trade, I guess, if you will, daily from you. Let's talk a little bit about what it took when I started. Because, like I've said before, I didn't have any. There was no gimmies. I didn't even get our bin solutions for a month or whatever, how long it took. I didn't
Yeah.
get leads for a month. I didn't have any, there was no breaks.
No, you didn't get anything easy. There's no doubt. You know, good and bad of the car business is we tend as managers or as people of the car business, you know, you got to earn everything. You know, even it's the simplest things like a training in general on VIN solutions. A manager has to give up some sort of time to do that, and that time is money. So, you know, a guy like you got to earn that time. It's kind of funny, isn't it? And it should be just the opposite, but it's
Well, I
true.
thought I had already earned it.
You earned it, but it's not the same way, you know. And so quite honestly, yeah, you always you have to work at it, and you did. You always went after it, and
Right.
and that's honestly what drew me to you. Was I saw something in you that day that you don't always see in somebody, you know, in a salesperson in general.
So we're going to talk a little bit about, because I know we have some people out there in our CUNA's group and other car dealerships all over the United States right now that are reaching out to me, kind of asking me a little bit of how I did it or what I did. And let's just talk about those first 90 days. What's the one thing, you know what I'm talking about? What did I do? What did I take to make me get where I needed to be? Massive action.
Massive action, absolutely. Aggression. You know, you were one of those guys that always stood out in the crowd that didn't care. I hate to say it. You cared about the people that you worked with, but you knew that you had to do what you had to do to be successful. And you went out and you did what you had to do. And you did a good job. At that time especially, you were aggressive. And you are today too, but you care more about other people. You want to help other people today, which is a little different. I think that had a lot to do with your steroid and some of the addictions that you struggled with. But, you know, today you have a different philosophy about why to do it. Back then it was all me, you know. So now you have a different position in life, a different goal in life, you know. And it's not about going to get high or whatever it is. Now it's about how can I help somebody else not struggle with these things that I've gone through.
What did I read today? They say it's lonely at the top, and something along the lines of it shouldn't be lonely at the top if you build the people up around you to come with you, and that's kind of philosophy that I want to. That's another subject, another show in itself. But so is it fair to say in those first 90 days we went from being people who didn't know each other to super good buddies?
Oh, absolutely.
Right away, and I was able to make an impact.
Yeah, I had just had gastric sleeve surgery a couple months prior to that in August.
Okay.
I had already lost, 60 pounds or something like that.
Right.
5'7", 350 pounds, not feeling all that good about myself to losing a bunch of weight. And, then you came into the mix of things and talked me into working out with you, which was really cool for me at the time. And, really helped me have some confidence. Absolutely.
Okay, great. So those first 90 days, I poured everything. I'm just going to talk a little bit. I poured everything I had into learning what I needed to do because I'll be honest, I was negative in all my bank accounts and everything I had. I was completely upside down. I had taken the last bit of my change jar to give my son a Christmas. I cashed everything I had. I didn't have a dollar to my name. I wasn't eating actually to make sure that his life would stay the same. So I took that massive action, and this little part is out to the people out there that are probably wondering what set me off or why I'm doing this or whatever. That's one key that I'm gonna focus on. Massive action. It creates friendships. It creates opportunities all around. So we become friends. I'm good. I become 1-2 salesman back and forth, which I touched on, and then all of a sudden I click gears again.
For sure.
Okay. And I started setting myself above.
Yeah, when that happened, the funny thing is that and I'd been in the car business. I'm 20 years in the car business now, but you had said something to me at that point in time that really struck, and you said, you know what? I can't compare myself to everybody else around here. I need to compare myself to me, and if I can hold myself accountable to be better every day than I was prior, I'm going to strive. I can't worry about the 10-car guy. I can't worry about being better than him because I want to be a 30-car guy. I can't worry about that 10-car guy. You always said that, and that was kind of a thing that always stood out to me. And I actually take that to all 12 of our stores now, is that exact attitude, that exact mentality is, don't compare yourself to the 10-car guy. If you want to be a 30-car guy, you got to compare yourself to yourself and drive yourself to be that 30-car guy.
Right.
So now other people around you want to be like you. It's a different mentality. There's no doubt.
Yes, definitely. I appreciate you saying that, actually.
Yeah.
'Cause I forgot that I even had talked about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Along with that, though, along with taking that next level, and every time that I've made a step in my life forward, the pressure got harder.
Oh,
The demons
sure.
got stronger. The women, the drugs, alcohol, everything starts intensifying in my life over and over and over. And I start actually working harder. But I can remember sitting at that desk over there working harder, but secluding myself from you, from everybody at this point mentally. Which is when the relapse was starting. So let's talk about the next 90 days. Okay? When I started calling in.
Yeah, I mean,
You told me one day about my excuses sucked or something. You mentioned it the other day.
I mean, well, you do this long enough, and excuses, everybody's got them, I mean, so I had heard every excuse in the book. It might as well have been, hey, the dog ate my homework, you had every one, and you were good at selling them. I mean, you sold me on a few of them. Yeah, yes. Hey, every conversation, somebody is sold. So I was sold a couple of times. Honestly, I was sold up until the point I didn't realize that you even, I didn't know your whole history at that point. So I didn't even realize at that point that you had addiction issues in your life at all. I mean, there was maybe some people that
Just
did.
the few jokes I would make or whatever.
Yeah, right. I mean, some people that knew a lot more. I mean, hey, let's face it. I mean, I've been in the car business 20 years. All of us have done some sort of bad things in our life. It's the
Which
level,
is why we're doing this.
Right, but it's the level in which that you took those addictions to were much higher than anything I had ever done. So, and so here, I mean, let's face it, as an addict on what you were doing, I had my addictions too. Obviously, I had my food addictions. So, I mean, here I was fighting these food addictions and had you coming in telling me, some of your issues, and so I was able to really relate to that somewhat. And people think, oh, well, food addiction, well, how bad can that be? Well, when you're 350 pounds and you have high blood pressure, diabetes, sleep apnea, your knees hurt, your ankles hurt, all these things are going on in your life, you might as well be taking heroin. It didn't matter. You were killing yourself a different way.
Right.
So so for you, I really took that from you. And these struggles that you dealt with were real to me. I could see how they were real.
So, in 5 months of being in the car business, I went from being a 10-car guy, which I would have done my first, to over 20 cars.
Sure.
Went from just using performance-enhancing drugs to back using drugs and drinking.
Right.
Which brings us to May-ish.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the part that I kind of want to focus on. We're going to kind of slow down a little bit and talk about May.
So we're going to talk really about the time period when you start calling in and really kind of disappeared off the grid.
Let's
right?
just talk about, and mainly I want to talk about the 48 hours before rehab. Or my birthday
Right.
week.
Yeah, because, well, I mean,
Birthday
it really
week.
started the day that you came in. You were all upset, and you're like, I just need a day. I just need some time. I just need to get out of here for a little bit. And, we all have those.
Mm-hmm.
So as a manager, I console you and say, you know what, Mark, if that's what you need, not realizing that your addictions had taken over at this point, take a day. And then I remember calling you 3-4 times that day to check up on you. And you're like, dude, I'm really good. I'm fine. I just need some time. And then realizing later how hard that was for me to have you lying to me like you were was really difficult. But as a friend, I understood it. Now I understand it.
Right.
I mean, there was anger at the time.
Right.
Why the hell would Mark lie to me? What's wrong with this guy? What is he thinking? Why would he do that? I didn't understand how bad it was.
Right. Well, and also it was coming out and everyone was trying to keep it together and keep me together because on one hand, I'm performing.
Oh,
still.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm performing at a high level more than other people. On the other hand, I'm sucking
At life.
At life,
In
basically.
general,
You're
at
watching
life.
two sides. I'm missing time with my kids. All that stuff started coming back out. So, yeah. So lying became part of the double life, which I talked about last week. Lying became part of my life again.
Yeah.
Every single day, to my friends, to myself, to my friends, to God, to my son, to everybody. But so let's zero in on June 10th. Okay, which was my birthday, right? June 9th. June 9th I went out.
Yeah.
June 10th was my birthday, which would have been on a Wednesday, I think, and Wednesday was my day off. At that time, I was taking a day off.
Yeah.
And I got bombed. And I got completely wasted, out of control, on every single drug, I believe, at that time, that you could be besides marijuana. Who knows, I might even bet on that.
Why would you do the one that doesn't kill you?
Right. So June 10th comes in, it's my birthday. We go through June 11th. I think I met with Scotty in the morning. He met me, he was chasing me around. I think he came to my house. I have a hard time remembering back, but remember you guys were looking for me. I was in the...
I just remember coming out to, at that time, I don't know what the name of the place was. Yeah.
Not too far away.
I remember going out there and Scotty said, you got to take his car away. And I don't remember if it was before Scotty came and talked to you or after, but I do remember that Scotty did come talk to you. But I mean, either way, that day, that time period was so touchy for everybody because you were performing, so we want to support you. We want to see you succeed. Not that if you weren't performing, we still wouldn't want you to, but you were doing such a good job. It was almost heartbreaking for us to see you fall off so far,
right.
you know. And I just remember Scotty talking to you for a while, and you guys were by the lake of all places. Mm-hmm. And he came back. He says, "Oh, I think Mark's good. I think he understands where we're at." And you were the master manipulator, you know. I think Mark knows where we're at. He's gonna be back on track. Blah blah blah. And then I remember Scotty also saying within hours, "Hey, you got to go find him. I think I know where he is." And you called me and you said where you were. So I went out and met you and brought a porter with and took your
Alex,
demo away at the time. Yeah, Alex. Yeah.
What was it like to? Because that wasn't my lowest moment in my life, but it was that point.
It definitely wasn't the lowest point of that whole.
So, because as people are watching this, you know, obviously my story is much larger than that, but I wanted to really zero in on that point because a lot of the questions I'm getting right now is, where do I start? How do I start? What do I do? And that's when I accepted help.
Yeah.
Unwillingly, kind of, but willingly, but unwillingly, right?
Yeah, you were. You know, I remember coming to the bar that day and virtually taking your demo away and driving you to your house. And yeah, we did take your demo away.
I remember we took the demo. Alex took the demo, or we went to my house, whatever. Came down here. We came in the office over here, sat down. And it was basically, and I was a mess. And I thought I had it under control still to this day. I still think that everything was fine, but
of course you do.
but it wasn't. And I had basically an option: either get help or get lost.
Yeah, and you know.
But I wasn't here the get lost part that day.
No.
Old Mark would have been, that's fine. I'm done. I can do it on my own. I'm gonna take off. Don't worry about it. I got this. I didn't have it at that day. So that was really a pivotal moment in my life where I accepted up. What was it like to actually watch me witness, for maybe someone that's reaching out there to go through help, and the parents don't know how to help them, or the brothers that.
You know, the hardest thing was, you see a guy like you. You're strong. You're big. You're so motivated in life, and to see you get this demon in your life and take over it took over your being. I mean, quite honestly. And you know, we had never seen you act that way. I especially had never seen you act that way. I looked at Scotty and I said, "Hey, we got to get this guy help, no matter what it takes." And the group has had other situations. You know, the auto group has had other situations where they've done that before. And quite honestly, why it wasn't more evident up until that moment when that happened. But when we sat you down, we said, hey, look, this is where you're at. You're either going to rehab or you're done. There was a point in time you could see in your eyes, you were almost tired of being in that position. You were tired of having those situations in your life. And hopefully, quite honestly, for the rest of your life, you're tired of it.
Right.
I'm sure you struggle with that differently than other people, but I think for us, it was so hard to see somebody so strong struggle with something that when you're not an addict like that. I mean, I've had other addictions, but I've never had that addiction. To see you struggle so hard with that, to put that needle down or put whatever it was down.
Right.
I mean, that was the hardest thing. That's a weakness you don't normally like to see in people,
Right.
So,
that was a tough time for sure in my life to accept. I can remember the feeling I had when I walked out here, and I remember Ricky Higgins was right over here, and I gave him a hug, which I'm not usually the huggy guy or whatever, but I didn't know what to do because I was crying, and but I had accepted help, and it was like the first actual sense of relief, I guess.
that pressure.
I admitted it finally to myself. I admitted to Brian here probably before, my brother and people, that I had a problem, but I wasn't never committed, which I'm all about commitment now, and I was never truly committed to being 100% sober, clean, ready for life until that time. And now it's my commitment. I'm doing all this. If I go backwards, I'm a real hypocrite, and that's not me. I'm not doing that. Let's talk about that night though. I wasn't done partying yet, was I? This is the fun part. Come on.
No, you definitely weren't done. I had a tough night that night. Mark had made the semi-conscious decision that he was going to go to rehab. How real it was or not, none of us really knew. I mean, we really didn't know. We knew you had said you were going to do it, but, we had also come to terms that you were the master manipulator at that point. And, did we really believe you were going to do it? I don't know that we did. But one thing that we had committed is we were going to do everything within our power to make sure that if you really were ready, that we were going to give you every opportunity to do it. And so Scotty had said to me, he's like, hey, more or less, somebody's got to babysit him, with no better words than babysit to really do, and I said, you know what, I'm that guy. I'll take that responsibility. And, I got kids at home and a wife at home to think about taking this, junkie addict to my house, was scary. It was, and I remember going to your house. So let's talk a little bit more about at your house, because that's an important part. Because here we are, you're in there, and you got your girlfriend that you've been with for I don't know how long. A couple years.
Girl that I love, whatever.
That you were convinced you did at the time,
right.
And you're in there with her.
Some days I still wonder.
I'm sure. So you're in there with her. And you and her went to the bedroom to say goodbye to each other, more or less, because she knew you were going. Which she didn't even know you had a problem up until this point.
I didn't even want to get close, so I don't even know how you guys had that arranged for her to be there, or how
I called her, not realizing.
I didn't want clothes. I didn't know where we were going.
I called her and I said, hey, I don't know any of Mark's stuff, but I want you to get his clothes so that he doesn't have to go searching through all his drugs to get his clothes. Right. I'm trying to minimize the situation best I can. So I said, hey, can you be there? Can you say goodbye? I know it'll mean a lot to him. It'll give him motivation to do the rehab. It'll get him motivation to get through the rehab. And as I'm there, I'm getting you these clothes, and she's putting stuff together. This person drives up in the driveway. Unbeknownst to me, was your mother's car or something along those lines. And she pulls up in the driveway, and she comes lugging out this gigantic bag of clothes. Now, I didn't realize this at the time, but I went out to her and I said, hey, look, you can't be here. I realized that she's the addict that you've been hanging out with for this whole time. And, that she thinks she's there, either A, to get you to escape with her, or B, to help you go to rehab. I'm not 100% sure. You probably have to clarify that for more than anybody. But, I mean, she's there. Your girlfriend's in the bedroom with you, or your whatever she was, fiance, girlfriend, whatever she is to you at that point. And this other girl who's a junkie with you that is part of your problem shows up with a bag for you. And I got to look at this girl and say, hey, look, you need to kick rocks because, this is a bad situation, So,
Right.
I mean, it's a unique story because it's almost movie-like, I mean, how else could that ever play out? And then, she leaves in the car not realizing it was your car or your mom's car.
And I'm in my own world of emotions that I'm going through the whole time. I didn't know I didn't know that my girlfriend was going to be there, and I didn't know that she was going to be there. So
shame on me. I called his girlfriend. He called his junkie friend, and before you know it, they're both there.
But I mean, I look at it now as it's a time of things that had to happen to start the healing process for even them.
Yeah,
on their side.
Absolutely.
You know what
on
I'm
their
saying?
side.
Like they had
absolutely.
to know what I was about or whatever.
And quite honestly, now looking back on it, I mean, the situation, if I had handled it different, maybe you would never ended up in rehab. I mean, and I'm not a cruel person, but I had to be cruel to that girl at that point in time in my life in order to protect you. And that was very difficult for me because that's not who I am. I'm not that guy. I love everybody. So, hence why I helped you get where you're at, I mean, is because I want to see people get good, be successful, be in their life, And
I think that's why we're even doing this, though, to be honest with you. I mean, the whole reason we're doing this is to help people be successful in whatever area we touch them.
Care about them.
Care about people.
Care about people, create relationships, right?
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so, I mean, the big thing is I mean, we're sitting there and, I pick you up, take you from your house to my house for a little bit, and, Mark asked me just to more or less give him one last night, right?
One last hurrah.
One last hurrah, which I think a lot of people would say, man, that's really dumb. Why would you do that? But the end game was to get you into rehab, right?
I don't think that there was even any stopping me. I think I was going, and it was more. So I don't want people to think that you enabled me or something like that. I think it was more of a keeping an eye on me to make sure that I
wanted to keep you out of jail that night. There's no doubt.
Keep me within, at arm's length, so that I could get on this path to recovery.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just wanted to keep you. My goal that night there was a couple of things. All right, so my goal that night, as the guy helping you, was just keep you out of jail. Keep you somewhat sober, which I knew alcohol, some kind of drugs would probably come into play at some point, which I didn't see many drugs. I'm sure you did them. I'm so naive, I didn't see them myself. And then, just to get you to rehab the next day. That was my goal. Let you do what you had to do, burn it out of your system, and, the funny thing is I mean, my wife let me do that, to help you do that. I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah, you guys
when you look back at that.
took me into the house, and we went out. I remember, I think we had a cheeseburger or something. I don't remember, but ate some food, took me out, one last hurrah, went home. And here's what I remember, was waking up on your son's bed.
Yeah, my little guy's bed.
My little guy's bed, where I slept, and you came in there, and you remember the shakes. You remember how, because I was getting sick.
And you're like, man, Ron, you got some booze? I need something to drink. What was it, like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning or something like that? It was early, really early that day. But I remember it disrupted everything here too. I mean, it really did, because it was not my day off. Scotty gave me the day off to take you. I just remember the commitment level on our end to make sure you got there was huge.
Right.
So I mean, it was huge, and the ride there, I remember you getting up, you drank all morning long, you went in the bathroom one time, told me you had to go number 2, you were gonna be a little bit, and then I remember you coming out of there and you looked somewhat relaxed. I remember that, and then as we were heading to rehab, you admitted to me that Dude, next time you take a drug addict to rehab, check his wallet, because that's where all my drugs were. So
Hopefully there's not another next time. But you
no,
never know.
well, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, I would do
You
it
know,
for
it's-
any. I would do it for somebody else.
Right.
Hopefully, it's never you again. Let's
Right.
put it that way. So
And even I just even want to talk all the way to. I still wasn't done. Remember, we pulled into the rehab
oh yeah.
and I couldn't. We turned around. Or whatever. I remember I had to take me to get some more shots. I still wasn't done.
Yeah, he wasn't done drinking.
Still wasn't done.
He wasn't done. I remember we pulled, we actually drove past the rehab. I missed the driveway, and we turned around. You said, "Well, wait, I'm not done yet. I really want to go get another drink.
I remember
one last drink." And we went to this bar. Why a bar has this rule, I don't know. But Mark had his hat on sideways, and he's half in the bag, and he's a big shooter at the time. Tough guy, hat on sideways, shoes falling off, shorts, and the bar actually has a sign out front, and it said something along the lines of, if you just had to have a certain dress attire to even get into this bar, which I thought was weird.
I don't
and
remember
of course, and of course I'm all embarrassed taking Mark in there, because he looks like a hoodlum at the time, and but they said, hey, you gotta take your hat off, and I thought, oh gosh, here we go. Mark's been drinking all morning. It's 11 a.m. This place probably just opened within the last 10 minutes or whatever, and the place was busy for lunch hour. And I just thought, oh my gosh, here comes some sort of poor reaction that's going to keep him from going to rehab. That's what I was afraid of. Is something going to happen here that's going to keep him from getting where I need him to get? My end game, quite honestly, was just get you there. That was my goal.
Right.
It was like jail almost, for me. Get you to where I knew you could get help.
Couple more shots. I still wasn't done. Then finally, the reality set in that I was going.
Yeah, you went to the bathroom, came back, and you said you took a drink and a shot, and you slammed down the bar, and you said, let's go. If I don't go now, I'm not going. So, took you.
And we walked in. That was an ordeal in itself. But
Oh, was it ever?
so, I guess, how do we want to end this up here?
Well, I mean, the funny thing is I couldn't check you in. You had to check yourself in. And anybody who has an addict that's checking themselves in, it took a lot of convincing. That was one of the few times I think I've ever sold you on anything, whether it was you being intoxicated or whatever it is. I mean, I had to convince you that this was best for you. And I remember to this day, the only convincing there was Mark, it's not for you. It's not for you. It's for the people who love you and care for you, like your son. And I think the big thing that drives you still to this day is the fact that Phoenix is in your life. And
Absolutely.
the people around you who care for you. And that's what drove me to make sure you got there, was for you to have a family. Because me as a family man, up until that point, you had always pushed that off. Now today, Phoenix is your life. And
Absolutely.
the drugs, he has replaced those drugs for you, which is kind of a cool thing in my eyes as a father and a husband and that kind of stuff. And, that he has filled that void that the drugs filled. So
He showed it the whole time. I just want to go and say, never did I not love him.
No.
He's what's kept me alive through a lot worse nights than that night. He is the reason I'm alive. He is my reason, my why, my being, the reason I'm going to succeed, the reason I'm going to help millions of people change their lives,
be who they are.
be who they're meant to be, and come out of the darkness that they were actually living. I mean, my Facebook is full of it right now. So many people need help, and I can't wait to help them all. So this is why don't we just go ahead and stop there? We have that's up to June. We have a whole nother 6 months
For sure.
that we want to go over. The story's not over yet. It gets better and worse, I guess, at the same time. But you want to come back then next week and talk about it?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, listen, thanks everybody for watching. This is episode 3. It's to be continued. Appreciate everybody for watching. Like I said, like it, share it, smash the like button. Let's get it out there. Let's help some people. You guys help me change the world. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.